Fashion changes. Technology becomes obsolete. What was a breakthrough yesterday only brings a smile today. Time is a ruthless judge of any design. But what if I told you there is a code that can deceive time? This code was written over 60 years ago, and it still works. This is not just a story about a car. It's the story of a single idea so brilliant that it has outlived dozens of eras. Today, we will break down the genetic code of a legend, piece by piece, the Porsche 911, and we will understand how they did it.
The end of the 1950s, the world is on the verge of a cultural revolution in music, in art, and of course, in automobiles. Jaguar had already shown the world its space-age E-Type, and Americans were preparing their muscular monsters. Against this backdrop, Porsche's first creation, the 356, began to look like a guest from the past. It was charming and light, but its roots, tracing back to the Volkswagen Beetle, were holding it back. The engine was weak, the cabin was cramped. The Porsche 356 had reached its limit. The company needed a leap into the future. And this leap was entrusted to a man who had the creator's blood running through his veins. Ferdinand Buzzi Porsche, the grandson of the legendary brand's founder. He faced what seemed like an impossible task: to create a completely new, faster, and more spacious car that was still, unmistakably, a Porsche. But the main condition set by his father turned this task into an engineering puzzle. The engine had to stay in the back. This wasn't just a whim, it was the brand's philosophy. And this engineering straitjacket became the starting point for a work of genius. The first attempt, a prototype codenamed 754T7, was a compromise. It had a familiar front end, but an awkward, almost vertical roofline, designed for rear seat space, killed all of its sportiness. The prototype was rejected. Buzzi understood there could be no half measures. He had to bend the entire form to the will of the rear engine layout. And so it was.
It was then, after abandoning compromise, that he wrote the code. It consisted of 3 unbreakable rules. The first pillar, the fly line. The new 6-cylinder engine was longer than the old one. This forced them to stretch the wheelbase and shift the cabin forward. To elegantly connect the high point of the roof with the low rear bumper, Buzzi drew one continuous sweeping line. This line, the fly line, became the backbone of the entire silhouette. It gave the car a sense of speed, even when it was standing still. The second pillar, the eyes and the dimensions. While competitors were experimenting with aggressive rectangular shapes, Porsche kept the almost good-natured round headlights. But there was a pragmatic reason. They were integrated into prominent fenders that rose above the hood line. This not only created a unique gaze, but also gave the driver a perfect sense of the car's dimensions, a legacy from racing, where hitting the apex of a corner is everything. The third pillar, the pilot's cockpit. Inside, there was nothing superfluous. The center stage was taken by the tachometer, the most important instrument for a driver. The 5 iconic instrument pods became canon. And another detail, born from the 24 Hours of Le Mans endurance race, the ignition key to the left of the steering wheel. This allowed the driver to start the car with their left hand while shifting into gear with their right, saving precious fractions of a second at the start. It was a sports car for every day, but with the soul of a race car.
1963, the Frankfurt Motor Show. Porsche unveils its creation to the world as the 901. The public is captivated. The design is pure, concise, timeless. But then, fate intervenes. The Peugeot company politely informs them that they own the rights to all 3-digit model numbers with a 0 in the middle. Porsche didn't argue. They simply replaced the 0 with a 1. And so, by a twist of fate, the 911 was born, and the world was never the same. But the true secret to the 911's immortality lies not in its brilliant initial design, but in the discipline of its development. For decades, Porsche engineers and designers followed one rule: evolution, not revolution. In the 70s, new US safety regulations forced all car makers to ruin their designs with massive bumpers. But Porsche turned this problem into a style element, elegantly integrating the bellows into the design. Years went by. In 1994, the 993 generation was born. Many consider it the most beautiful 911. And the most important. It was the last one. The last with the true original air-cooled flat-six engine. Its sound, its character. It was the culmination of an entire era. And then came a crisis. In 1998, the 996 appeared, the first water-cooled 911. And it had different headlights. The fans were furious. They nicknamed them the fried eggs. It was the first time Porsche had strayed so far from the canon. And it was an important lesson. In the very next generation, the company returned to the sacred round shape. The lesson was learned. You don't mess with the genetic code.
So how do you create a car that won't age for 60 years? The Porsche formula turned out to be strikingly simple. First, find one strong, honest idea, born from engineering constraints. And second, the hardest part, have the courage and discipline to defend that idea for decades, perfecting it without yielding to fleeting trends. The 911 is not just a car. It is a monument to engineering discipline and design wisdom. And that is why when you see one on the road today, you don't just see a sports car. You see its entire 60-year history, captured in a single, flawless silhouette.
So which generation of the 911 is the benchmark for you? The air-cooled classics or the modern high-tech versions? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to read them. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this journey through history, and subscribe so you don't miss the next legends. See you soon.